What's up, everybody? What is up? Welcome back to the Science of Flipping podcast. I am your loyal host, Justin Colby. And if you're watching me on YouTube, you can already see I got someone really, really special with me. But before I get to introducing the man, if this is your first time maybe hearing of me, finding me on iTunes, go over and download my free book. I wrote a book called The Science of Flipping. And I sell it on Amazon. But for my loyal listeners, I always give the opportunity for you to download it for free. All you have to do is go to thescienceofflipping.com/book, thescienceofflipping.com/book. I sell it every day on Amazon, but you can download it for free because you're here, you're loyal, you listen to me. Obviously, this is all about real estate investing, being an entrepreneur, building a business. And I really try to stick to the systems, the tools, the implementations, the processes to create your business in a manner that you can create the life that you want to be living. And the reason why I have my special guest on today is because he is a great example of someone who started young and had major success and has found a life that I think most people aspire to have. He's found a happiness and a joy. He has made a ton of money doing this, but he's also found something that is much deeper. And so I want to just bring on a friend of mine, someone who's made a huge impact on me already, my friend Frank McKinney. What's going on, dude?
Hey, it was great meeting you in AZ.
Yeah.
And we're coming back in a couple weeks. I kept mistaking you for that Flip to Freedom guy. I forget.
Sean Terry.
I know. Sean, you guys aren't even twins, but I screwed up your name, and I'll never live that down. But no, that was fantastic, and I look forward to seeing you again in a couple weeks.
Yeah, man. We're for those of you who don't know, we have the Find and Flip Summit coming up, man, and Frank's going to be one of the keynote speakers. He's going to rock it. I'll be speaking. I'll be sharing the stage. Sean will be there sharing the stage. Kent, you name it. It's going to be Grant Cardone, Elena Cardone. It's going to be off the chains with the people that we're going to have at this. So I'm excited for you to come in here in a couple weeks, dude, and do what you do, man. You made a profound effect on that boardroom meeting. I will tell you that much.
Well, it was really fun being able to come and not just talk strictly real estate how-to, right? I mean, I think if you've been in the business as long as I have, like I'm about to embark on my final project. After 30 years, I'm building my biggest, well, not my biggest, but one of my biggest houses on the ocean, a $20 million spec house. I'm done after 44 spec houses with an average selling price of $15 million, moving on to other stuff. Not because I don't love it. It's just time to, change is good. When the only thing that stays the same in life is change, life can be pretty exciting.
No doubt.
So, but it was fun at the event. I got to talk about succeeding in the business we're all in. Not real estate, but life, right? Yeah. We're all in the business of life, and got to share what it took to build my real estate empire from the time I came to Florida with a $50 bill in my pocket and a one-way plane ticket from the cornfields of Indiana to South Florida, where I'm coming to you from now. Real quick, turn around, see, I'm working to you from an office that's floating in the water. But that took a long time to get there, and I think it was fun to just show you can be a responsible steward for the gifts God's given you, both professionally, as I have by building the big spec houses, and spiritually, like building the villages in Haiti that you guys helped us build a whole new village that we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think one of the things that I want my listeners, why I wanted this to happen, is to, they've heard my story and how I was sleeping on a couch and I was broke, busted, and disgusted, and I had no money and I literally had no income, and I was just determined to make it. And you resonated with me on your straight determination, conviction, drive, work ethic, because I had the same thing, right? And I think a lot of people know my story. Yeah, but Justin, this. Yeah, but it's you. And what if? And bringing someone like yourself who has had much higher levels of success than I've had yet in my career, in a slightly different avenue. Yes, in real estate and development, which I've dipped my toe into pretty unsuccessfully. But to hear your story, I think, is going to be very impactful for my listeners, because they need to know that no matter what is against them, right? Whatever challenges, obstacles, speed bumps, hurdles, if they put their mind to it, if they have the drive, if they desire it enough, they can make it, right? And so why don't we just start with your story, a Cliff Note version of how you got started, how you reached this amount of fame that you had where you're on TV and that whole thing because of your success.
Yeah, the Cliff Notes version had me growing up on a farm in Indiana, oldest of 6 kids. Dad was a banker, mom was a school teacher. I went to 4 high schools in 4 years, and it wasn't because my dad was in the military. I was kicked out of one after the next, after the next. And then at 18, I realized I took out like the imaginary eraser of life and turned back to the chalkboard of life and said, I need to erase this ridiculous behavior, this self-destructive behavior. And the only way to do that was to change my venue, change my surroundings. So I got on a plane with a one-way plane ticket. I landed in Florida. Listen, I don't believe in the welfare mentality or the entitlement mentality. The welfare system's fine, but the mentality is different. I was so proud, Justin, to have a job digging sand traps on a golf course, earning $180 a week. I was working for myself. I was out on my own at 18 years old. Didn't have a benefit of going to college, but I was around affluence. I was around wealthy people who could play golf or tennis all day. And as I was a tennis pro after I was a maintenance worker, making $100,000 a year. I was able to buy a Ferrari by the time I was 21. But there was more to the successful people that I was teaching tennis to, right? These were the people that were, my Ferrari was used and rusted. It just looked good, right? Underneath the hood, it was falling apart. They had the house, the mansion, the beautiful wife, the 2.2 kids. They had the yacht on the intercoastal or the ocean. And so I asked them, I earned my PhD in entrepreneurship, really my master's in real estate, teaching people, let's say you were one of my students, how to hit a better forehand or backhand, but after 45 minutes, I purposely tired you out. So Justin could not finish the tennis lesson. Those last 15 minutes of an hour-long lesson, I'd ask Justin, how'd you get here? How'd you get here? And over a 2-year period of asking every one of my tennis students who were very wealthy, I've taught tennis in very affluent communities, how'd you get here? The answer somehow circled back to, more often than not, real estate. Some form, commercial, residential, storage units, wholesale, retail, bank foreclosures, IRS repos, you name it, I heard it. And I thought, you know what? I'm not an idiot. I heard this from people who had no more education than me. Maybe I ought to get into that business. So I saved all my money, contrary to what your viewers might think. I'm a lot less exciting than I look. I go to bed at 8:30. I get up at 4:30. I don't drink, smoke, gamble, overeat, oversleep, womanize. I'm a nerd in sheep's clothing. But I love.
You look good in those sheep's clothing, brother. I got to tell you look good in those clothing.
But I loved the story that I was told by the ultra wealthy on how to get to where they were. Sure, I could have learned it in a classroom, but that classroom for me was that tennis court. And after learning for a couple of years, because there was no Find and Flip Summit or anything like that out there to learn from, I took my hard-earned money, my $30,000 that I had earned teaching tennis. This was before no money down or other people's money or hard money lenders. It was just put your freaking money where your mouth is, buy the crack house in the really bad part of town, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 620 square feet, drug house. I bought it. I renovated it. I made it the nicest crack house on the block. It wasn't a crack house when I was done. It was the nicest little house on the block. And for the first 5 years of my career, I delivered the first-time home buyers the American dream. I don't believe the American dream is meant to be owned. I think it's meant to be rented. And so I would take people out of a rental situation that were, basically first, last, and security. Take that first, last, and security. I could get them into a house for home ownership under VA or FHA rules for about the same as first, last, and security. Did my first flip in 1986. Holy mackerel. 1986, I made $7,000. It could have been Monopoly money. I was so excited that I validated my concept of buying an undervalued commodity, this beat up old piece of property, fixing it up like nobody else, marketing it like nobody else, and selling it for a premium like nobody else, 103% of retail. I did that for 5 years, didn't do a house worth more than $100,000. I did a lot of them. And as Malcolm Gladwell says in his book, Blink, to be an expert in anything in life, you need to spend 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours is 5 years full time. I read that book a few summers ago and said, wow, I'm actually an expert. I became an expert those first 5 years in real estate. Didn't matter how many zeros were after the asking price. I became good at it. In 1992, when I say we, my wife and I, jumped to the oceanfront, not to live, but to do projects. Because in South Florida, you've got a very affluent population that might have a house in the south of France, Italian Riviera, Malibu, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Hawaii, and Palm Beach. And I was going to be one to deliver them that house. So we took the same concept. Justin and listeners, I just added a zero. Instead of $75,000 on the buy side, I spent $750.
Yep.
Same concept, same stamp delivers that mail, right? Doesn't matter what's in the envelope, same check. So we started doing oceanfront properties. I started with a $2.2 million house. So I jumped from $100,000 to 2.2. From there, we've done this. My last one that I'm doing right now, we've done 44 direct oceanfront houses on speculation, meaning I don't know when I'm going to get paid, over the last 25 years. So that's, like a house and a half a year, but the average selling price is around $15 million, and the average days they spend on market is somewhere around 2.5 months.
It's incredible, dude. And I think there's so much to be taken from that story, right? And I could go so many different directions, but I think the first thing, most of my listeners who are either just getting started, maybe they've done a couple wholesale deals, maybe they've even gotten a couple flips under the belt. How in the hell do you go from doing $100,000 home to being able to figure out what it will take to sell a $2.2 million home?
Confidence. And the only way you gain confidence is over time. I felt that first $50,000 flip that I did, and this is before the word flip even existed, right? There wasn't a show on TV. There was none of that. I felt like that was the biggest risk I ever took, because I took myself off the tennis court where I was earning $100,000 a year as a 19-year-old. Cash money. This is before the IRS.
That's crazy, by the way. $100,000 back in.
And that's way back then. I'm 54. Oh. I mean, imagine that's big money. So I realized, when that risk of giving up that life to buy a crack house, what am I doing? So it was a bigger risk for me. Nobody listening to this is a born real estate investor.
Right.
Sorry, not even my daughter who was born into the family is you're made over time. So for me to say, I'm giving up that lifestyle and I'm going to do a bunch of little, fix up, I didn't really flip them wholesale. I made them really nice and I sold them retail. So when I moved from 100,000 to 2.2, it wasn't, I didn't lose, a follicle, and I didn't lose an ounce of sleep, because it was a natural progression. It was those first 5 years, like most of the people that are listening to this are just getting started. What I don't want to hear is, how can I do 10 wholesale deals this year, Frank? How can I, or Justin, how can I do, 10 first projects like you did, retail projects? How are you going to do the one?
One.
Just do the one and do it well. I tell you what, I made fun of myself there a minute ago. It was the nicest crack house on the block. It was, listen, 3 coats of paint instead of 2, $20 yard carpet instead of 10, a new roof instead of a fixed up roof, a patched up roof. I didn't cut corners, and I might have made less money. My margins were slimmer, but my reputation grew. And people wanted to own the American dream through Frank McKinney. And then when we graduated price point, I had to start all over again, because I wasn't known on the oceanfront for my brand. And after a decade or so, from 92 to 2002, we built up that brand. Now, like Van Gogh, Renoir, Monet, and Leonardo da Vinci, people want our artistry. It's three-dimensional art, and I love creating it. So if you're listening for the first time, first of all, there's nothing spectacular about my story coming to Florida with a $50 bill at 18. Like, who has more money than that? Or Justin's story of laying on the couch when he was younger. We all did that. It's what you do between that moment of getting off the plane or him getting off the couch, the decisions that he made or I made, that will begin to set us apart from those who are going to listen and not do anything with the information they're going to learn.
That's right. I mean, the reason why this is so meaningful to me, this podcast, is I want to be able to not just motivate, but to inspire. So the way I look at the difference between the two, motivating is getting someone to be able to do what they know they can. I know I can run a mile. Now my music might motivate me to run a mile. To get inspired means I can now go from, I know I can run a mile, I'm inspired to run 2 miles today because I have an inspiration. There's a difference in the way I look at that, right? And it's exactly right. I'm hoping this podcast episode with you and my all of 130 episodes that I've done over the 3 or 4 years, I want to inspire people to actually do it, right? I know there's all those sayings, but man, when it comes down to it, this isn't rocket science. You actually just have to get off the plane and have the intention of wanting to do it, get off the couch and say, I'm going to be something, because that's where you win. And it's about moving forward and progressing. And so that's the key to really this podcast, is to get people off their ass to start taking action.
Let me help your listeners or your viewers with one step beyond what you just shared. How old are you? You're like 35, right?
36.
36. Okay. So for the first part of my career, and if you're really young, you're into motivation, just like he said, motivation. But you know what? Here's the thing. And I've got, like, Justin could practically be my kid. I've got time on you. One thing I've learned is the human species was not meant to stay motivated. Frank McKinney can't stay motivated. And I run 135-mile races across the Death Valley Desert, the hardest foot race in the world according to National Geographic. I can't stay motivated. Motivation will go off your body, like I'm standing in a shower, and it'll wash off my body and go down the drain with the soap tonight. That's what'll happen. If I did a crappy job and Justin did a crappy job today on this podcast, and we motivated you, guess what? We fail. Next, and this is where you're at now, and Justin, I want you to think about the next step, beyond inspiration. Inspiration is just like he said, I'm inspired to run 2 miles, but inspiration can be like watching an inspiring movie or reading an inspiring book. After a while, like the effects of a bad sunburn, the inspiration will dissipate. So motivation washes off right away. A sunburn might last, with Justin and I, who are really white, it might last 2 weeks, but that inspiration is going to wear off. Here's the difference. And Justin, I didn't find this until like 5 years ago. Aspiration. Aspiration will alter your DNA. The DNA that had Justin sitting on the couch and me going from boarding school to boarding school. I aspired to become more than I was. I aspired to emulate certain people that I looked up to, real people or not. I used the story at your conference about me wanting to aspire to be more like Willy Wonka or Robin Hood. These aren't even real people. Evel Knievel, I wrote a big blog about him the other day because he passed away 5 years ago, a few days ago. And I wrote about how he inspired my life. If Evel Knievel wasn't, a daredevil, he would have been a fictional character, right? So when you think about who do you aspire to emulate, what legacy do you aspire to leave behind? Oh my God, that's a fun question to answer. It could be a beautiful tomato garden, or it could be houses on the ocean. No one of those is more important than the other. It could be the work that we're doing in Haiti. What do you aspire to do today that's beyond your current ability to comprehend? You see the difference? When I start answering those, let's give an example. I aspired to be I aspired to be a best-selling author, just one time. So 1.8 grade point average out of high school, no formal education, but I aspired to become this. Was I motivated every day to write my manuscript? No. Was I inspired by reading somebody else's sales figures on their books? Most of the time, yeah, but eventually dissipated. But I never lost sight of that aspirational goal. My race across the desert, Justin, I aspired to finish the toughest foot race in the world. 135 miles run in 125-degree heat on 200-degree blacktop. And I'm a decent athlete, but I'm not that kind of athlete. But because that aspirational goal stayed up there at the forefront of my mind, if I wasn't motivated one day to train, or I went out to do a 50-mile training run and I fell short and only did 25, I wasn't inspired to finish it. Something happened, I got hurt. But I never lost sight of the aspirational goal, that something bigger than I can imagine. Once you latch on to aspiration and answer those two questions, what do you aspire to leave behind? What legacy do you aspire to leave behind? Who do you aspire to emulate? And third is, what do you aspire to do right now that's beyond your current ability to comprehend? I mean, I do a post-mortem on my life now, even though I'm not dead, but I look back. It made a huge difference. Aspiration made a huge difference. So yes, motivate and inspire, but those two things ignite aspiration.
I love that, man. And honestly, out of all the people I've interviewed, I've had my own mentors and gurus, and I consider you to be one of them. I mean, that message resonates so clearly with me, and I'm hoping it does to all the listeners here, because it just brings it to that really 10th degree. It's the aspiration, that what do you aspire to do that you don't know you can do today, but you aspire to do it. And go out.
And my list of things, and your listeners, viewers' list of things isn't long. I aspired to do really like a handful of things in my entire life. Best-selling author, I've not got 6 books out there. Real estate artist, what's that? I love artistry. I love any kind of artistry, but I can't sing, I can't paint, I can't play an instrument, I can't sculpt. I build 3-dimensional art that people can live in. Okay, check it off. I'm a real estate artist. Running a huge charity in Haiti. How the hell do you do that? We've built 25 self-sufficient villages in 15 years in 22 different Haitian cities. So those are huge things that I aspire to become and still aspire to be better at. It's not a list of, like, every year my aspirations change. I might have had a thing here. That's 5. I didn't name the other 2. One is the race, of course. That's 5 things in basically 30 years of being a professional.
Yeah. So to kind of switch gears just slightly, I resonate with something that you talked a lot about, and we don't have a whole lot of time to go into this, but when I talk to my, students and we talk to our boardrooms and all of that kind of stuff, I really resonate with what you're talking about, how you created the fame that you created by building your real estate art. Was you took a large marketing lesson, right? And I truly believe what you've created is as much marketing and sales as it is anything else. If not, that's really what it is. And I want to hear kind of your message, and I've heard it, but I want my listeners, because at the end of the day, what we're in, I think you're more in real estate than the average person. I don't necessarily consider myself to be in real estate, truthfully. We buy homes, we sell homes, we rehab homes, we flip them. I basically raise some money, but really what I do well is I market for the homes and I sell the homes really well.
Right.
And that's what I do. I don't swing the hammers. I don't draw the designs. I'm not an architect. I don't necessarily view myself as in real estate. And I know there's something so I just kind of want to open that up to you about your thoughts about how important the marketing and sales aspect of this is. And quite frankly, can be the hardest part, because you got to grind and dig and try and fail and get up and try and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So when you strip it all down, I am in real estate. But what I wanted to be was a real estate artist. And I think everybody should take, even if you're listening to this and like your husband says, come in here and you better listen to this because I want you to learn too, and you're not even into real estate. Everybody should take an artist approach to their craft, whatever the craft is. So if you strip it all down, you and me are in some form of real estate. Well, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you set yourself apart? How do you become a 3-dimensional real estate artist if that's what you wanted to be? Subliminal intoxication. So you're right, Justin. I can market as good as anybody out there. And it makes up for a lot of shortcomings when I'm over budget. I'm always spending more money than I budget for because I want to make it nice. Or maybe I'm taking too long to bring the project to completion. I'll make up for it in the way that I market. So heightening the experience your buyers, in my case buyers, your clients have with their 5 senses, sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste, heightening the experience they have with their 5 senses to the state of subliminal euphoria. They become subliminally intoxicated with those senses, so that in a sales situation, which we're all salesmen or women, in a sales situation, you move somebody from need. I don't deal with need anymore. People don't need to put a roof over their head when I'm selling them. They already have houses everywhere. But most people are dealing with need. I need Justin's flip. I need Justin's rehab. I need a house. I need a house. How do you move them from need to desire? There's so many out there. That's where that subliminal intoxication comes in. Lust, mystique, alarm, prestige, power, vice, and trust. I try to touch every one of those things when I'm either writing copy or I am advertising a piece of property. So I want people, if you could own a Van Gogh, Renoir, Monet, or Da Vinci, I'm a McKinney. Why shouldn't I be in that category? Listen, ego is a beautiful thing if it's backed up with passion and belief in what you do. So don't be afraid of ego. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I believe I'm really good at it. That being portrayed to my buyers makes them, crawl or wait, open the curtain, can't wait to see what Frank's doing. So you need to spend the longest chapter in my real estate book, verse this, which is it's a pretty thick book. It's everything I know in real estate, is the marketing chapter, Justin. It's the most important. It's required reading at a lot of real estate companies.
Yeah.
It's my listing addendums are longer than my listings. And when it comes to the things I touch inside of the house I just spun you around in, this micro mansion I just built, 165 different initiatives I use to market on a weekly basis. So it's critical. But remember that raising your experiences, your buyer's experience, your client's experience to that state of subliminal euphoria.
That's it. That's it. And just to kind of wrap it up, I'll change into something that is a major passion of yours, is become a passion of mine. I've, joined forces with you and obviously Kent Clothier and Sean Terry. And we've done something really incredible with our mastermind groups that is trying to get a village up in Haiti. And so I want to allow you some time to talk about this passion and where it kind of started and where it's transformed to. And obviously at this point now we're trying to get the boardroom village going, and we're more than half of the way there. And so we're very excited about that. And so, why don't you spend some time talking about Haiti and building villages and giving back?
Well, let's just talk about the why first. Giving back is kind of first of all, I earned everything I have, so I don't give anything back. I choose to share the blessings God's given me. Here's the real short version of the story. 15 or so years ago, I sold the most expensive spec house in the history of Palm Beach County. It was for $15 million. I was on the front page of some newspaper, and I was excited about the article coming out. I went to the newsstand. I put a quarter in. And nobody's looking. It's 5 a.m. in the morning. I take 10 papers out because I know I'm going to give them to my friends. And I'm reading the article. In the article, it talks like, what does my clothes look like, my hair, the house behind me. I was in a really bad place, Justin. Is this all there is? I've climbed the ladder. I sold the most expensive spec home in the history of Palm Beach, and I feel like shit. I feel like I have no heart in my soul, right? And I realized it was all about more food in my pantry, more clothes in my closet, and more freaking cars in my garage. I was a materialist. I was a consumerist, and I was depressed. And in that article, there was a short little piece about a soup kitchen, and there was a man being fed out from underneath the bridge and our overpass. That guy looked just like me, maybe a little less, shaven and less blow-dried hair, but it looked just like me. And I thought, oh my God, I spent a lot of time in juvenile detention, all at school, one school to the next. How come I ended up on the right side of the page and this guy ended up on the left side of the page? I was bothered by it, perplexed by it, so I started volunteering at the soup kitchen. And wouldn't you know, Justin, that had I not answered that great tap moment when God comes down and taps you on the shoulder, calls you to more, we wouldn't have built now, 15 years later, 25 self-sufficient villages sheltering 11,000 children and their families in Haiti. In short, God has blessed everybody listening to this podcast or watching it with the ability to succeed at some level. You are blessed. These guys, Justin, Kent, Sean, they'll teach you how to make money in real estate. What are you going to do when you make it? What are you going to do when you make? I'm not talking about millions. Oh, I'll wait to give when I'm Frank's, at Frank's status. The Bible references 3 T's: time, talent, and treasure. You may not have the treasure. You may not have all the talent in the world, but you got the time to share some of the blessings you've gotten. You've got a professional, highest calling that God blessed you with, as defined by your ability to do something a little bit better than most. Not better than everybody. I'm not better than everybody. I'm a little bit better than most. That's my professional highest calling. What's your spiritual highest calling? Mine didn't exist until 15 years ago. I realized, I need to be sharing my time at the time with the homeless people. Eventually that grew to talent and treasure, building these self-sufficient villages in Haiti. So as you're making all the money and you're listening to Justin and the gang how to do so, be thinking about what you're going to do with some of the money that you make. God, He wants you to be a responsible steward for those blessings. He really does. And He's going to reward you for being a responsible steward for those blessings. Justin has built, I think, 3 houses in Haiti. And I know you wouldn't say that because you're a modest guy. He built 3 houses for a family of 8. So 8 times 3 is 24 people that were living in a mud shack covered with palm fronds and rodents running across the floor. Now have a nice concrete home because Justin built 3 of them. Now that sounds like a lot of money. You know what? And it is a lot of money. I'm not going to take that. That's $12,600 he's donated. and we were able to build 3 concrete houses.
Mm-hmm.
When I come to the event, and even if this podcast outlives the event, I'm sure it will, that's the one thing I hope you take away. And once you find that spiritual highest calling, guys, it reinvigorated this was 15 years ago. I hadn't done any real mega projects. And had I not found that a purpose for what I'm building these houses for, I probably would have retired or got into something else a long time ago.
I love that word, the purpose, right? That's a word that I think is used too seldomly, to find a purpose behind what we do. And I know Kent talks a lot about the why, and I resonate with that. But beyond that is the purpose. Why do any of it, right? We're all here. You can do whatever you want to do. Why do any of it? And to find a purpose behind what we do, how we do it, I mean, it invigorates you, right? You can wake up earlier, you can stay up later, you can work harder because there's a purpose behind what you're doing. So I just love that word. And I think a lot of people need to start looking at what is their purpose, right, with their time.
We're in the housing business one way, shape, or another, right? My simple why was, well, why shouldn't I be providing housing to people who don't have it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple. I mean, homeless here, homeless in Haiti, wherever, and we've got a good system for doing it. I've got it systemized. I can build a whole village for 400 people for like 300 grand.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. And I couldn't be prouder to be a part of it, and look forward to continuing that venture with you and the whole team, Kent and Sean and everyone. So I appreciate you, for coming on, giving your time to our listeners, but also to being at the boardroom and showing the purpose behind that. And then I'm really looking forward to, you're going to rock the house here in about 2.5 weeks here in Phoenix at the Find and Flip Summit. Looking forward to reconnecting with you, grabbing some food and chilling, hanging out.
Hey, if you listen to this or you watched it and you do come to the event, come up to me, introduce yourself, tell me what resonated. I like to hear. Is it the motivation, inspiration, aspiration? Is it your professional highest calling, your spiritual highest calling? Is it your purpose? Something, listen, there's a lot of information overload out there. When I listen to a podcast or watch one or read a book, 1 or 2 takeaways, right? That's all you need. You can't remember everything I told you today. And everything Justin says, you're not going to remember it. 1 or 2 big nuggets. What were they for you? And come out to the event in a couple of weeks, and you're going to get a lot more from not only me, but other great people like Justin and Justin Jr., who's actually known as Sean.
I love it.
He's a junior, even though he's a pretty big guy.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy. So, hey, dude, again, I thank you. For you guys that are out there trying to even just think about how do you even get started like Justin or Frank, I just created something that is yet to be launched. It's launching next week. It's called the Science of Flipping Academy. It is the foundation for wholesaling, rehabbing, wholetailing, and buying and holding. If money's a little tight or you just want a great foundation for what to do in the upcoming years, it's 2018. The market's on fire. It's going crazy. How do you protect yourself? You can go to thescienceflipping.com. There is a button that says products. Go to the academy. It's $97 a month. I mean, it is really, really affordable, but it's the foundation you can need to become the next Frank, to become the next Justin, to become the next you in whatever space you belong to. So I just, go there, scienceflipping.com, and check it out. Thank you again, my brother. I will see you in a couple weeks.
All right. See you later, guys.
Peace.